that can first seem a little bad. It was like 2 days before. It was at the weekend, I think. And when we heard Maggie was not going to be with us.
Tuesday.
I mean, because it was like 2 days before the actual event, like before today. So anyway, it was like a bit of a panic, but then, I mean, I don't know how much we can ever thank Deniz for everything that she's ever done for us.
Exactly.
And in a very inspiring manner, she, accepted that challenge. So yeah, thank you. So I'm going to read you her biodata, and then I can't kiss her today because she's also a little sick. Anyway, okay, here she goes. Deniz Kurtoğlu Eken, as you know, works as an instructor and as projects development and research coordinator at Sabancı University School of Languages, where she also worked as the director of the school for 10 years until September 2012. Over the years, she has been involved in teaching, curriculum development, quality research studies, teacher and trainer training and development, including formal training courses with AKELS, the British Council in Turkey, and in the UK, the US Embassy, the Turkish Ministry of Education, and with different schools and universities in Turkey. Deniz Hanım, I want to say, it says Deniz here, Deniz Hanım has designed and directed formal training courses at private Turkish universities as well as the CELTEC, and provided consultants to many institutions on a wide range of topics. She has publications in teaching methodology, quality research, teacher and trainer training and development, school effectiveness and development, which are also her main areas of interest. Her biggest source of inspiration comes from an exploration of individual growth through personal and professional development and
Thanks very much.
May I say something here, Deniz? It was 5 o'clock on Tuesday when I called Deniz and requested whether she could be our cleaning sweeper. She was sick in bed.
Thanks very much. Hocam, it wasn't actually 5 o'clock, it was a bit earlier, but you'll see now exactly what time it was. It's delightful to be here. I know if I stand here, probably the light will get into my eyes, so it's not good, is it? So either here on this side or that side. So many familiar faces as well as new faces. My colleagues at Sabancı, wonderful conference committee. It was really great to have you all up here. And thanks to Meral for specifically thanking each and every one of you, as well as our SL colleagues, because we know how much work goes on behind the scenes. So well done and congratulations, heartfelt from me to you as well. So welcome. You've just been told the story that, we found out 2 days ago that Maggie can't make it. But let me, actually it's better here. What happens here when I come here? This seems to, here it's different. Maybe not. Maybe it's my voice. I actually sounded more like this a few days ago, so it's slightly better now. So you heard about Tuesday, but this is what I was doing when the phone rang. Actually, it didn't look like this. It wasn't cooked yet. I was kneading the ingredients and sick as well. Okay, slightly worse than today. Now, today, actually, I'm, not bad. And it was supposed to be a holiday, right? Labor Day, 1st of May. But all three of us, my husband, Can Tarkan, our son, myself, we were all sick. Still, of course, being the mom in the family, I had to cook and complete my mission, which I did. But I realized my phone was actually on silent. There was a missed call from Meral at 1:44, Hocam, not 5 o'clock. No. And there were 2 missed calls on WhatsApp as well. And I thought, okay, today's a holiday. It's Labor Day. Meral's calling. It must be something serious. I didn't really want to call back. But I did. And of course, when she told me Maggie can't make it, We had a bit of a nice chat on the phone, and I had promised that if someone could not show up, I would be happy to step in their place. So, of course, I agreed. And there were all sorts of feelings going on in my mind and thoughts, as you can imagine. I kept saying to myself, pathways that inspire us. Pathways inspire. Pathways that inspire us. Several rounds of this. In fact, if I were to share with you my whole thought process, it would probably be like 100 slides. So please multiply each slide several times, including the dolma, because, you know, I did have to stuff the pepper and put it there in between so many things, thinking pathways that inspire. And I thought, okay, look, I've got to talk to someone, and, you know, I really appreciate talking to Jacqueline regularly. We're good, especially if we have a drink together, to brainstorm and pool ideas, don't we? I mean, we're really good with drinks, especially.
But we couldn't have any in this case.
Yeah, there were no drinks, but wait for later. Okay, so this is what I wrote. I said, panic mode, can I talk to you first thing tomorrow about a few ideas? She knew by then, of course, that, you know, I was going to be presenting. And then I thought, okay, good, you know, I've got Jacqueline, I'll talk to her in the morning. And then this is what kept happening in my brain, you know, throwing some ideas out, others in, some out, etc. This is all the meds and pills that, you know, we were taking, and I was making sure that Can Tarkan in particular was taking. Ali was helping himself. My plan for Tuesday afternoon was actually go to bed and sleep in the afternoon, having cooked after I finished cooking the stuffed pepper. But you know what happens at these times. You can't sleep. Can you sleep? I tried a few mindfulness techniques, Sharon. And especially the one about think of nothing, think of nothing, think of nothing, think of nothing. And after 15 minutes, I said to myself, oh, just get up, woman, will you? So, you know, I started brainstorming ideas. Then there were several moments of, you got this, you got this. Don't panic, you got this. Don't panic, you got pathways that inspire us. And of course, there were several moments where I had to be definitely thinking of what to wear. Now, women will definitely understand me. As you can see, it's a shoe, not a dress, because the first thing that I thought of is what shoes am I going to wear? Now, at this moment, you'll be looking at my shoes. They're not these shoes. Those shoes I will wear tomorrow. So that I'm giving you more of a purpose to be here tomorrow. You have to see these shoes. Okay, but I mean, this is serious. We know, don't we? We sort of... Anyway, so. And this multiplied several times, again, in between the stuffed pepper and the pathways that inspire us and can't sleep and all of that, I played quite a few rounds of Words with Friends, my favorite game. As you can see here, I'm losing to this lady called Nina S., who keeps winning all the time. So it didn't help that I was losing when I was brainstorming all these ideas. And finally, Berna will remember this, because on Monday afternoon she came to my office and she said, I've got a little present for you from Cyprus, northern Cyprus. And she produced this little bottle of whiskey out of her bag. And I said to her, and my voice was really bad at the time as well, you know, Berna, I haven't drunk anything for days. I really appreciate this because I've decided that today I'm going to drink tonight, this evening. This is Monday. But I actually saved it. I behaved myself that evening. So after all this phone call business, Meral Hocam, and the stuffed pepper and the brainstorming of ideas, etc., I said to myself, I shall drink this whiskey. But as you can see, I didn't finish it. In fact, there's still a bit more at home. So this is Tuesday for you, but I'm here, and hopefully it will be in the remaining 35 minutes we have. I don't have 50 minutes anymore. But it's not the dolma, is it? No, I think the break is really important, arkadaşlar, because we've been sitting for a while. I know it's still early in the conference and all of that, but I'll do my best to finish punctually, okay? Excuse me. Kirkare. Anybody know? Is Justin here? Justin, Kirkare. Do you know? Justin is very good with languages, that's why I'm asking him. Actually, Jonathan would know if he were here. Yes, İlkan? Exactly, louder.
Search.
Yes, it is research. It is the Latin for research. And my topic is research as inspiration in terms of development. Hi, Peter. As you can see, in Latin, and I loved it when I found this out, it means to go about, to wander, to traverse, to wander hither and thither. You know, I really like this conceptually, and you'll understand why in a few minutes. So I thought I should actually start with this. You know, it's a nice etymological thing about research and its importance. I believe that Kirkare is a mindset. Meral talked about data, the importance data in her opening speech. Data is no doubt part of research. But it's also important to think of research as a mindset. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, we know that inspiration, when we have inspiration, we're often inspired to find out, to do research. But it's also the other way around, to be inspired by research, something we read, when we talk to people, when we read something, etc. So it's both ways. Curiosity inspires research, and research sparks curiosity. Now, I think most of us will agree that our perceptions about what research is and is not can change. We still try to make sure that that changes. Why? Because we sort of think still, so many of us as teachers, that research has to be, you know, really well thought out. It has to be with a large group of people or informants. It has to be longitudinal, etc., etc. But that's not true. Anything can be research as long as we have the curiosity to find out about it, to want to learn about it. And we know that it's doable and practical. Think of classroom research. Think of formative feedback techniques. Those are all part of the research we can carry out. Meaning, description, understanding perceptions, views, behaviors, experiences. I can't emphasize this more. And this inspires me so much. The genuine in the title, my title comes from this, because I'm focused on meaning, and I shall always do that. I love describing. I love trying to understand perceptions and views and behaviors and experiences, and I try to promote that with my colleagues and the people I work with as well. Open-endedness. Between the stuffed pepper, in that scenario, when I was thinking pathways that inspire us, I kept coming back to the concept of research. I kept thinking open-ended, wide, deep. I was saying these to myself in my mind, because that's what research is to me. And this is why I would like to explore and suggest and recommend that everybody explores without assumptions. I think we're doing education injustice if we set off with assumptions in our minds and say, okay, this is what I'm going to find out. Communicative methodology is useful, so here we go, I'm going to prove it. Or Teacher talking time should be less, students should do more, this technique is useful, not useful, etc. I'm going to prove it, okay? To me, that's not useful research because it might be blocking us from seeing the ocean out there. We are bringing meaning to that, whereas what we want to really do is to be open-ended in our questions, in research, in our thinking, to be adventurous and to say, let us see what's going to come out of this research. Let us discover what will come out. This also means we don't want to change the natural setting. What is the natural setting? The classroom, the staff room, whatever professional context we're in, that we actually want to keep it in its natural setting. Being and staying relevant in today's world, being selective and prioritizing for development. Now, I came across this actually the other day when I was reading something on the internet by Max Lukominski. He's not in the field of education. And the title of his article was "The Biggest Challenge of the 21st Century and How to Master It." And it was so relevant to us as well, I thought I've got to share this. He talks about staying relevant, being relevant. Excuse me. And what that basically means is, in the accelerated pace of life today, all of us fear that we're losing out somehow. It's a bit like we're a hamster in a wheel, you know, trying not to miss out on things and being concerned about what we're missing out all the time. What he's suggesting is staying simple, prioritizing, being selective and reasonable. It says, do not accelerate too much. Do not try to do everything and be everywhere at the same moment. Keep in mind that being unstoppable does not always mean being fast. Very often, in order to achieve more growth, you need to decrease a speed and take a break. Decrease your speed. And Tülin will like this. Treat your life like a marathon, not a sprint. And I think that's very true. So what's this got to do with research? In order to be relevant today in what we're doing, what bigger tool, what bigger inspiration than research to guide us in that? Especially think about this from an institution's point of view. Schools compete with each other. Thank God universities don't have that much competition, but a lot of schools do, especially in secondary, primary areas. So what do? You say, hey, they're doing that. What shall we do? Oh, they've started this. So in order to calm down and prioritize, we need kirkare. And kirkare, I think, is simply fascinating. If we have the mindset of, I shall discover, I shall learn, I shall find out without any assumptions in my mind. So, in terms of tools, I'm not going to go into these in detail. Of course, it is beyond the scope of my presentation to share with you details on these, plus the fact that I know so many of you are familiar with these different tools and you're actively using them. I might just say a few things maybe. These are also my favorites, by the way. But maybe I can refer to a few here that I think are being underused. One of them is document analysis, including corpus analysis. Some of us use it in the classroom, etc. But document analysis is underused. I will show you a very good example. I think it is a very good example in a minute. And also, remember what I said about perceptions, about research, that we think it's got to be something really big to be called research. I think this is also a bit underused. Classroom research tasks and discussions and exploratory activities. Okay. What I'll attempt to do in the remaining 25 minutes is to share with you one or two questions from a series of research studies that we have conducted at the School of Languages. I will try and choose questions. I have tried and chosen questions which I think might be of interest to you. But please note, importantly, that I am not able to share, again, it's beyond the scope of the presentation, all of the questions, let's say, in a survey, etc. You will see and understand now. But why this? Well, these are our books, and we're very proud of them because each of these books, curriculum development, learner development, and teacher development, which came out this year, late last year, all contain, to us, great examples of research studies that we've implemented, but also ideas on how we have put them into practice. There's a Black Swan, our publisher, Black Swan stand outside, and if you're interested in benefiting from a special discount, please do visit, because it's only for the conference, do visit the stand. So why am I saying this? Because you'll see more details of what I'm saying in our books. The first one I want to share is on the topic of exploring school ethos and culture, which we did recently. And as a result of our research, what actually came up for us was something totally new. We now have on our website our ethos statement. What is our ethos, our school's ethos? We now have our word cloud based on the data that has come out of our research. So, here's from a survey for students that we gave to students. The question was, which always works wonders. I love this question. I use it very often, also for classroom research purposes. And here are some sample answers from the students. After you got it, you understand the goodness of it. Isn't that nice? This is another one to students. If we put the rather boring and personally unuseful parts aside, it was quite good to be a part of it. This was towards the end of the semester, so he's talking in past tense already. This kid wrote an essay.
Innocent good purposes.
Yeah, I loved that bit too, Sheila. Most homeworks are given with innocent good purposes, but they don't work. Of course, our teachers were involved. And our question to the teachers, as you can see, was similar. As you're looking through these, keep in mind what I said about research being a mindset and not starting with assumptions. And these are all open-ended. They come sort of out of nowhere. You don't know what you're going to get unless you ask in this sort of manner. Actually, the people who wrote these are here. It's a bit like, someone might say, hey, I wrote that. That happens in class, doesn't it? But the names, we didn't ask for names, so that's why we don't know. You're welcome to say that was mine, by the way, if you're here. Yes, Vildan, which one? Huh? The trunk. Okay, thank you, Vildan. Which one?
The last one.
The last one is yours. Wow, thank you, Nurdan. This is exactly what happens in class. Okay, I won't ask about the others. If the school could speak, again, this is a question I use very often with students as well. I change the question, but animating an object. If the school could speak, what would it say to you? So this is teachers' responses again. Yazık değil mi? Çok güzel. I love this. It's actually such a nice feeling to have this awareness and to be able to say this. The first line especially. The school does appreciate. Part of our realities. It happens. And again, it's perceptions. So any perception is welcome. We can't read meaning into, what people are saying unless we welcome all perceptions. Did you read that last one? Your contributions mean a lot to me, even though you could not get the Outstanding Award or the Best Teacher of the Year Award. Again, very nice. So, that's our word cloud, ethos. The description I didn't put here because, you won't be able to read it, but please, if you're interested, it's in our books, the teacher development one, and it's also on our website. Corpus analysis, I won't talk about it at all, but I just wanted to remind, or maybe those of you who haven't used a tool like the Lawrence Anthony, ne denir ona, website mi? AntConc, that's the name. I know Jacqueline's going to refer to this too in her session. It's a wonderful tool for analyzing text, data, and what's called corpora. This is actually from our learner development publication because I was analyzing it for the keyword motivation, which occurs 75 times in our book. I was trying to see what sort of occurrences and contexts we used the concept motivation, and whether we needed to make some alterations or additions. So Lawrence Anthony, if you write AntConc on Google, it'll take you there and it's freely downloadable. Classroom research. Remember I told you we don't use it a lot. We can make more use of it. This is a recyclable question for me. Very similar to one of the ethos ones. Can you read that? It's a bit...
We can.
Okay. Here are some answers from my students. And let's see if you can guess my favorite. No?
Batman.
Yes, the Batman one. But why is it my favorite? Evet ya, I love that bit. The student is so honest. What else can he say? Your lesson is good, but it's a lesson. So it's as good as a lesson can be. Yani daha ne yapacağım? Daha ne yapayım diyor bir de o bana. I really believe in this, It's students we need to understand, not the other way around. Especially now that my son is 15 years old, we can't expect them to understand us. And please let us not say to them, bizim zamanımızda. I think we really shouldn't compare students, think of our own times, etc. We need to understand them. And look at this one about classical music. This guy finds it entertaining, or girl. This one says, well, sometimes time passes slow. Haklı çocuk, that's what he perceives. Now, isn't this wonderful? Isn't this research fascinating? Isn't this research worth being shared with others and the students themselves? Isn't this research one of the best ways in which we can learn and grow as teachers? Another one, getting students to develop criteria for effective teaching, for effective lessons. This is one of my favorites, and that name is real, by the way. His last name was Nerede. Again, it's in the books, the learner development book and the teacher development book. I get students to develop criteria about what a good lesson is, what good teaching is, etc., quite often. But I don't have time to go into the details, so I just wanted to share with you one extract of what a student wrote. What can you say about this student? Ya çok güzel değil mi? Huh? Yeah. Huh? They always come to the school in the morning and leave in the evening. So they can be tired. Allah razı olsun Ferhat. Anybody else know Ferhat? Çok şekerdi değil mi İlkem? Neslihan sen de hatırlıyorsun. Gözleri de boncuk boncuk. Exploring teaching principles. This is our new research. Jacqueline and I are working on it at the moment. We're very excited about it. And with our colleagues next week on the 14th of May, we will be meeting in the afternoon to analyze the data collaboratively. Rather than Jacqueline and myself sitting down and saying, okay, this is what... Again, it's very open-ended. We want to let the data speak rather than making assumptions. One of the questions we asked was this to our colleagues, and our colleagues are sitting here. They might remember their answers. Now, I actually had a Mentimeter, but I don't think there's going to be time for us to do that, and I was going to get you to discuss things, but not my fault. I had to start 15 minutes late, so apologies for skipping the Mentimeter. But can you think of your answer at least? SL teachers, what did we say? Why? Of course, we asked. So here are some extracts from the 4 elements. And you can see the names of our colleagues in brackets there. I tried to choose, they were all wonderful, there's many more responses of course, but I tried to choose ones that I thought gave us different reasons for choosing earth or fire or air. And as you can see, those are sort of different from each other in terms of why our colleagues have chosen them. If the name wasn't provided because it was optional, I haven't been able to include the name. But I'm very curious about who wrote the last one, as I love it, because it reminds me of my father, who unfortunately is not with us now anymore, but who used to run after us, myself and especially my elder sister, because the younger one was very young at the time, and sort of saying, you know, don't run, kaçmayın, gelin. and he would try and put our heads in the water. So he really believed that we would learn how to swim that way. And thinking back to it now, you know, I just have a big smile on my face whenever I remember it. So whoever wrote this, thank you so much. Well done. It made me feel, you know, sort of very emotional, but I think, you know, it's got some truth in it as well for me too. I don't know who M is. I have a few guesses, but I shall not reveal my guesses unless she herself says it was me. Bakıyorum yüzlerinize ama neyse. I sent my colleagues an email yesterday saying, do I have your permission to use your names, although you actually gave them voluntarily. And Justin wrote back with 2 more descriptions. And I said to him, Justin, is it okay if I use your original one? And he said, well, why not? Do you not like my hyperbole? But it was really interesting, Justin. The reason I'm saying this is I realized you hadn't chosen air then. You chose earth. Seni. No, but again, that's wonderful. So earth and air together, you know, and I've got more quotes from him, so definitely worth exploring. Fire. The people who chose fire didn't seem to volunteer to give their names. I wonder why. But we have Nuria, our Spanish teacher, who contributed. The first one, I love the first one. Well, I love all of them. And a mixture. 2 people actually could, shared that it needs to be a mixture. Remember I said document analysis is underused? Well, again in the School of Languages, what did we do? And please, this is highly recommended. How many of you are involved in classroom observations? Okay. Now my colleagues, of course, some of us are putting our hands up as well, but I can see so many others. What do you do with the feedback forms? Where do they go? Somebody's dossiers? Shelves? Okay, well, please, please don't throw them away. In fact, I'm writing an article about this as we speak. They are precious. They're a treasure. Why? Because if we want to look at our institutional profile in terms of teaching, what's better than that wealth of data sitting in somebody's drawers or on shelves? We did this twice in our school. As you can see, the latest one was very recent, with 56 feedback forms analyzed for their strengths and for areas for further development. Don't worry if you can't read those, it's just to give you an idea. And from that, we were able to highlight what are the strengths of our institution in terms of teaching, and what are the areas for further development that we need to focus on in a comparative way to the previous analysis. Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this a treasure? Yeah. Could we do this without actually looking at that data? Impossible. And from there, we also decided that it was very important for us, and I strongly believe in this anyway, that we shouldn't be taking our strengths for granted, because we are good in so many ways, and I'm sure you are too in your institutions. Those need to be appreciated. Those need to be acknowledged. Okay, so observations on observations. This is my final slide, I think. And I still have 6 minutes. Targeting quality over quantity in terms of using and exploiting materials. You see, I've been observing classes for maybe 2 decades now, and I love it. I think it's part of research. Observing classes, you learn, you research, you find out. And this is also obviously from my experience, but we need to do this and remind ourselves about this all the time. Quality over quantity. Adopting a task-oriented approach rather than activity-based teaching for more meaningful and challenging learning. Those of you who are not familiar with the recent versions of Bloom's taxonomy in terms of action verbs, please Google it. Don't Google Bloom's taxonomy. Google Bloom's action verbs. And this is a wonderful, I think, sort of versions of Bloom's taxonomy, which can help us be more task-oriented, more specific in terms of what we require our students to do. Not, okay, activities are nice, but they're not necessarily clear in terms of their aims sometimes. Choice in learning. This comes from observation data, but also from experience and reading and other research. Respecting learners and their space. We like them so much that sometimes we end up doing everything for them. Stay away. Even at the lower levels, there is so much they can offer. In fact, that Ferhat Nerede's extract, he was in Route 1 at the time. Not a lot of English. You saw the mistakes, but he expressed his views nonetheless. This is one of the ones that I've learned, and it's reinforced in me recently. I love it. I love this idea. Learner-centeredness doesn't mean that the tasks we're using have to be pair work, group work, discussion. Learner-centeredness is all about little things that the teacher is aware of that she weaves into the lesson, like using students' names, being aware of what a student said during monitoring and pulling that back in, saying, hey, Tijan, I heard you mentioning something very interesting. Would you like to share it with your friends? That is learner-centeredness, not only the task itself. Take stock. Let's take stock, but also appreciate, please, and slow down a little bit, at least in terms of school priorities. Life is not going to get any better in terms of pace. It's going to accelerate even more, but we have to slow it down. So, thank you very much. I hope that was useful.